I left my waterproof camera at home, but I still shot in the rain. We knew pretty early on that this shoot was going to be threatened by rain, and sure enough, it rained a little bit throughout the early stages of the shoot, but nothing that really threatened the equipment or even to soak us. So we kept shooting, and I started with a Kodak Portra 800, which I shot at 400 because I like how it overexposes, and I find it kind of muddy when it's at 800, so there's that. We wanted to go for this androgynous look a little bit, and I liked the attitude and power that went with it. I used a Bronica ETRS for my medium format shots and a Contax G1 for the 35mm shots. And we had decided that the rain was going to look better in downtown, so we went for that. I think Portra 800 is probably the first thing I can think of where I strongly prefer to shoot a film overexposed, and I develop normally, by the way, because it's nice at 800, but when you give it just a little more light, it really sings. It's more proof that Portra 800 is my favorite Portra. I always like this Alleyway, and I was going to shoot with some Fuji Pro 400H during this session as well, so I decided to work with these murals and this graffiti right here in this little corner of the alleyway, and you see the mural right there, and this chair was in the alley, so I decided to try to do something with it. And I like how the color, especially on the other half of this mural, was, and I also like just the black and white here. And real quick, I've been working to get back on track with my posting habits, and my patrons listed here have really played a huge part in that. And if you'd like to be one of those people, go to the link listed on the screen or in the description, and you can help out. Thank you so much. Your contributions really make a huge difference. And it was right about here that the rain really started coming down, and we decided it was time to go for the second outfit to maximize our results. Before we take a look at these Pro 400H photos, I'd like to let you know that I posted my Film February winners video, I think it was Saturday, just a couple of days ago. It's a previous video. It will be linked at the end of the video or in the description. We had 117 entrants, I believe, and even more rolls of film to judge. If you were one of my winners, please get in touch with me if you haven't already. Thanks. Now let's check out some Pro 400H photos. As you can see, the saturation on the Pro 400H and the contrast is just absolutely beautiful. And a lot of people like this film to overexpose it and get pastels and soft blacks, but I really like its natural contrast shot at box speed. Anyway, I had hammered my way through that pretty quickly, trying to get kind of a mixture of outfits, and then switch to a roll of Lomography 400, which is another one of my current favorites. You'll see it has a little bit of a warmer profile, a little less saturation, but still more than like a Portra, which I kind of like, and it's got more grain and contrast, or you would say maybe versus the Pro 400H, maybe even a little muddier. But I didn't mind it so much. So I was trying to make the most of these locations and move around and not stay on one spot way too long, because it's pretty easy to shoot like a whole roll in one location. So we moved to this corner, and you'll notice when this will come up later, she had her hand up by her head. You have to take note of how things look without dimension in photos, because if you do this right, the arm can completely disappear behind the head. Oh yeah, I did have some Pro 400H left with this outfit. Check it out. Once again, that contrast and saturation, I just absolutely love it. And it's an absolute crime that Fuji's not making it right now, so I hope they do come back out with it. But you see that elbow right there? And it's really easy to make that disappear from behind their head. So you have to think about how that looks through the lens. And little things like that are hard to keep up with at first, but they really get a lot easier. It becomes more automatic. So Don't panic if you find it really hard to think of things like that. Just think of one thing at a time, keep shooting, and that one thing at a time will just kind of become natural. I detected a distinct kind of 1970s Mick Jagger rocker vibe going on here, so I really helped Jennifer emphasize that in posting. By the way, this is Jennifer. I'm sorry I didn't introduce her earlier. But I thought it was just a really cool look. The way the shirt is, the way her pants were, and her haircut works, it really hit me as this kind of cocky rocker dude that you'll see in old photographs. And finally, it started raining heavily, which was a little disappointing in that I didn't have my umbrella with me. And I was having to stand under an awning to keep the Contax G1 I was using from, getting ruined by the rain. I had a GoPro on top, which was perfectly fine, but the Contax was not. Anyway, I was making the most use I could out of a little shooting halo I had, which actually worked out fairly well. But what didn't work out super well was this Vision3 500T I was shooting. I had really high hopes for it because this is the stuff that they use to make Cinestill. It usually shines in situations like this, and I'm not quite sure why it didn't work out, or if I just maybe did the exposure compensation by accident and underexposed everything, and it just got this really grungy, underexposed look. However, it wasn't all lost because not this one necessarily, but some of the ones coming up, the tungsten balance of the film really plays to my advantage. And even when the rimjet didn't come off very well and created a kind of red stain on there, it works because it's like this gritty rock and roll vibe in the rain. And I was also looking to make sure my stuff wasn't being stolen off a table at the coffee shop. It's a small town. You can sometimes get away with that, actually often. Anyway, as you can see, the hair was really starting to get soaked, and the shirt was getting that nice drenched look to it. So it's kind of cool, and we're about to learn the elbow lesson, by the way. So remember earlier when I mentioned the elbow behind the head, how it's real easy to make it disappear if you're not doing it right? I was shooting this with a 45mm lens, I believe, and I was just a little too far back. So versus the 80mm lens I had on the Bronica on the Alleyway corner shot, this kind of didn't favor the angle or the shot as well, so it was easy to lose that arm behind her head. But we kept going, she was already soaked, so we might as well make the most of it. But we kind of did this rainy cafe thing, and I think it kind of works here. You see the quote-unquote cinematic quality coming out in the film in situations like this. And you also have to be careful not to reveal that the cup has no coffee in it on shots like this, but it looks close enough. And yeah, I don't really know what was going on with the camera or the film here. Maybe it was exposing for the background and it left her underexposed, but I thought I was manually exposing. Anyway, you live and learn. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you think you're getting it really well, and other times you're not. So I'm sure that's some kind of candy commercial or something. But I'm sharing this with you because this is kind of like the life of photography. And you think, oh, well, that was a wasted roll of film. Why'd you show this off? Because it just makes you look dumb. But this is how you learn, so you don't make this mistake when you're doing this for money. Because if this were a paid shoot, this would have been difficult and possibly a reshoot. So the fact that I learned that I should pay more attention to how bright the background is in comparison to the foreground, even in heavy overcast and rain, and didn't think about how bright it was going to come across, will hopefully inform a future experience while I will avoid the mistake. But overall, I'm actually pleased with a lot of the second parts of these photos. I didn't really like how the first ones came out, but I can't win them all. Anyway, thanks for watching. I will be back again soon, hopefully on a regular schedule. Like and subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss that. Thanks. See you later.